This song just gets me in the mood every time.
Hope you find some kind of peace of mind.
All right. What's going on, everybody? I hope you find some kind of peace of mind. Thank you for joining us today for the live recording of episode 34 of the Mental Health Podcast with my co-host Deanna Stoll. Deanna, how you doing? How you feeling? It's been 3 weeks since we last did an episode. It doesn't
I
feel
can't
like it.
believe it.
Feels like it was
No,
yesterday, right?
it
but
does.
time goes by so fast sometimes, and especially us having kids, you know, full-time job, the whole nine. It just the days they seem to blur together a little bit. And now, as we get into the thick of it, of the summertime, the kids are out of school. It's even more just gelling all together. There's so much to do, so little time. But here we are. We're able to find enough time today to come on the pod today, streaming live on Twitch and YouTube. Thank you for everybody for joining us today. If you have anything that you want us to talk about, we have an hour. If you would like to call in, let me know. Just type in call in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. All right. Either way, appreciate the support. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, the whole nine. Whatever you could do to support the show. D, how you feeling?
Hey,
What's going on?
a lot is going on, like you said. Everything is gelling together. I like that actually, because that's how it feels. Sometimes I feel stuck in the gel.
Mm.
Um, but how important is it to come back to ourselves, right? We spoke about mental health check-in. Do you actually check in with yourself? I was curious.
In regards how because I'm
Like,
always
how
checking in.
am I? How am I really? What's going on with me? How do I feel today for real?
I
Or
mean,
am I just going with the flow of the day?
I run a lot, so when you run for hours at a time, you have no choice but to self reflect. I know sometimes you might have a little music, and distract you, but music has always been my therapy, so it will be forever a moment where I'm always checking in with myself. I'm always self reflecting. I'm always what's going on. I had an issue the other day at work. I had a very nasty patient. I spoke about it on the sports podcast on Friday, just a little bit towards the end of the show. And I kind of did want to bring it up today because, it's definitely mental health related. The particular lady, obviously, HIPAA reasons, I'm not going to, mention names, whatever. But, she said some not nice things to me. And it kind of, I was already having a stressful day, a stressful week at work. And just with everything else going on, I didn't need this on top of it. Just for context, this lady was negative straight from our interaction between each other, which I've dealt with her in the past. I've never had really much of an issue with her before. I've known her for a couple of years, but we never we never talked too much in between our interactions. Sometimes that happens. You just have patients. You just you don't really gel with. Speaking about gelling, and you just okay. You do your job. You move on. And
Yeah.
this particular day, I mean, she was on one. The second I opened my mouth, said a name, forget it, attitude. And I'm always the type to reevaluate. Okay, did I say something wrong? Could I have been nicer in my approach? Could I have said this? What can I do? What am I doing wrong? You know, because she was just very nasty. And then what ended up happening, I was taking care of her situation. I walked past her towards the end, and literally, not less than a foot away from her as I'm walking past her, she mutters under her breath, and it was low, but it was loud enough for me to hear it. Um, she she said, "Fucking faggot." I was like, "Oh, how lovely," and
Dude,
dude, right? Yeah, that's good. Isn't that
I was like,
lovely?
is he gonna tell what she
Yeah,
said?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Isn't
that
that
is horrible.
horrible? Absolutely. And listen, it's nothing new. Task, what's going on? Task from YouTube. Not from YouTube, from Twitch. How you doing, Task? Task was actually part of that discussion on Friday night, so we're revisiting that today. and it's necessary. It's listen, Pride Month, happy Pride. We're closing out Pride here in the month of June, and I myself, again, just to reiterate, identify as a pansexual man. And yeah, I know this woman, that doesn't know that. Not that it matters anyway, but it just amazes me. And I know whatever she could, I don't know her situation. And even if I did, I wouldn't, again, to protect her privacy, I'm not gonna like say that. Obviously, I work at a cancer institute, so you would assume it could be cancer related. Doesn't necessarily mean that is the case. But regardless, just because you're battling cancer doesn't give you the right to just be an asshole. It doesn't give you the right to do that
That's
and
so
say that,
horrible. And you're here for her to help her. Like, nah.
Yeah, yeah, so that really just, I forget what day that was. I think it was on Thursday. I think it was Thursday. And it was just like, man, I was already having a stressful day as is, and then there's that, and then, I feel bad because I took it home with me. I really did. Like, I took it home with me that night, and, me and the wife kind of, had a bit of just a clash. Got home, the three kids, you know how it is sometimes. It's,
Yeah.
this one's crying, this one needs something, this one's going on. My special needs son Charlie, he's crying. We can't figure out what's wrong with him. And it's just like I was just so overstimulated with just things and emotions and everything myself. Just,
Yeah.
and I kind of like snapped at her a little bit. She snapped at me, and it was, I give credit to my wife because she recognized, like, I told her, like, listen, I'm just having a day, and it was like, I think she realized it, and I'm like, okay, you know what, go do your thing. It wasn't a very, happy transition. I don't think we spoke to each other for the rest of the night. That's not necessarily a good way to go about it.
No,
Um,
but it sounds like she understood, which is awesome, especially, to have in your partner. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's why we've been together for as long as we've been. We're not perfect. We don't pretend to be. We have dust ups, but one thing I will say is that we don't have like huge, fights. Like we don't fight. We may argue or disagree at times, but we don't fight. We're not blowing up, man. I think there was
Yeah.
like one time in our relationship over the years, and we've been together nearly 10 years now, married for 5, and there was like one particular instance where it was really like a bit of a fight, and it lasted for, again, like a day and a half, whatever, and then ultimately we made up. It was good, but kudos to her for in that moment at least recognizing, like, I just didn't have it in me anymore. I wasn't emotionally available for her, the kids. I was checked. And I think, I guess, to your point, going back, that was my mental health check in for the week, because it was like, all right, I need to snap back. I need to reevaluate. Even on my run this morning, I felt like, I always feel good on my runs. I always feel good coming out of my runs, but I felt today coming out of my run like I need to do more. And not as if I'm not doing enough, as as a parent, as is, or just a husband, whatever, friend. But I just came out of it like, no, no, no. I believe in myself. I know I'm capable. I feel like I need to do more. So that's, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And yeah, I don't know how much more I can do, but there's just something in me that wants to do more, whether it just be my goals in terms of an amateur athlete, here on the show, on the podcast, as a husband, as a friend, as a father. I'm feeling that I could and need to do more. um and I don't think that's a bad thing. I At the same time, I guess I need to realize that I do a lot. But if I feel that, maybe there's something to it. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Or, maybe you want to transition into your, mental health check in of the week?
I would have to agree with you. I mean, I'm always feeling like I want to do more and that I am capable of doing more. But then I'm often hit with the reality that there's not a lot of support in my life. That's
Mm.
why I'm with you on that. Kudos to your wife. That's really awesome that you have that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, do you have, friends?
honest,
You have friends you could go to,
yeah, I have I have
outside of work.
friends. I have friends that are supportive and things like that, but no one like close enough to my situation that is really hands-on to help me, cuz
Mm,
your family unit is a little different from mine. It's just me and the kids. So there is a lot of the times where I'm like, "Okay, D, I know you feel like you can do more, you want to do more, but your body's telling you something different right now. You need
mhm,
to,
mhm.
you know, take a step back and then get some rest, and then you can be at it again." Um
And that's
cuz then
important. You need to know when, hey, listen, maybe just take a step, relax. Even the other day, I did it too. I took a day off from running. I felt my body wearing down. I'm like, just you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot.
yeah.
It's okay to veg on the couch for a little bit. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that, but society and social media make you believe that you just constantly got to
Gotta
be
keep
moving, go,
going.
go, go,
Yes.
go. Especially living in New York, right? That's just always the mindset. Um,
Yes.
and I know other people that live not in outside of an urban setting. It's a different type of lifestyle, man. You're moving a bit slower. You may be doing things, but you don't feel the pressures of having to constantly be doing things. It's just slow it down a little bit. Enjoy it.
Yes.
And it's actually funny that we get to that point because that's going to be a part of my mental health video of the week. I was planning on shooting one today. I haven't really done too much of the mental health videos or kind of did the carousel images, which I may do for this one as well. I'm not sure if I want to do a video or carousel like with the photos this week, but it's going to be rooted in that of, slowing down every now and then, really taking it in, and more geared towards, the kids and the family. And, it's good to have goals. It's good to, want to be doing things, but, it goes like you said. It's been 3 weeks since we last streamed. It goes by too fast, and
Yeah.
when you look at the kids, they're already out of school. Here we are, another year down. Your kids are much older than me. Their futures, there's so much changing for them right now. It's
It's
such a big time, right?
yeah. For
Um,
me too. For me
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Mental health comes into question a lot with that. Being a parent of, older children. I feel, and I say this often to especially a lot of the women that I work with because they're older, like they don't talk enough about what it's like for the parent when your children actually are transitioning into like real life.
yeah.
It's
Becoming
it's
adults. Mm,
it's a lot.
yeah.
That's really been on my heart and on my mind a lot lately, and that's really been one of those things where I have to check in with myself because I want to do things too, but I also want to be there as support for them and help guide them into that new world, so to speak.
What bothers you most about it? Is it just the fact that they're growing up, that they're no longer dependent by you? Well, I'm sure they're dependent to a certain degree. These kids, especially
I
this new generation. But like what bothers you the most? Is it just like the fact that they're getting older? They may not be as involved in your life anymore. Does that, because
part yeah, that's partly it. Like I
yeah,
said, it's just been me and the kids for, forever pretty much. My oldest is going to be 19 in September.
mm,
And it does, I'm dealing with that kind of sadness that he's not a little baby anymore and he's not going to be needing me as much. But I'm more focused on like just being supportive. Like, okay, this is what you want to do. Let me help you figure out how to get that done without you falling on your ass. Or if you do, it's okay that you fell on your ass. What did you learn from that? Just kind of just being a guide and just being there for them so they don't feel alone. Because, I think back to when I was that age. Like I said before, I had my oldest at 19.
mm,
So I want him to just feel like he's not alone and he can make good decisions on his own. And if he doesn't, that no one's going to judge him for it, that this is just a part of life.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very interesting. You and I were living two very different well, two similar lives for us. You and me again. I had my firstborn at same age as well. I think 1920, right? So it's similar in that sense. But when you're looking at your son, like you said, hopefully, he's on a different path, and to guide him, through that path. That's challenging, especially when you have mom who started at an early age. Do they feel like they need to do the same or take a different path, or does it really matter at the end of the day? No. But these are the things you worry about as a parent, and you want to guide them the best you can. But it's a very turning point age, where they're going to ultimately find their own way and do their own thing. You can suggest things. You don't want to be too overbearing as a parent,
Yeah.
right? But
So
yeah.
if I can elaborate a little, my oldest son has a friend who he's been part of the family since they went to kindergarten together, and his situation is a bit different, where his parents are kind of like telling him what he needs to do, and kind
Mm,
of like, I want to say, living through him. Like they made their own mistakes, and now they want him to do things a certain way, and it's not what he wants to do. And he's often by me, looking for someone to speak to, and
mm.
trying to figure out if he's being wrong by wanting to go against his parents. So I see I see it from a lot of different views. I see it from this kid's view, from my son, and then, like we just said, for us, like what we went through. So there is a there is a balance that needs to be found with that whole thing.
Yeah, that's tough, but good on your part though, for being there for him. I hope I could do the same, for some of my kids' friends growing up. My parents were always that way. My house was a revolving door. And I always observed that, especially a lot of my brothers, like friends, they would always be there asking for advice because they didn't get that support from their parents,
Yeah.
and or their parents were just absent in their lives. And it's nice that you can provide that for them. Also a little bit of a slippery slope, right? Because you know, um, you don't want to overstep the actual parenting that's going on over there. You don't know. You generally hearing just the child's half of it. But oftentimes we find that that is the case, right? A lot of parents are living vicariously through their kids. I really, I don't care. I know growing up, I was into the whole sports thing. I was trying to, be a baseball star and all that. I never felt like I was, especially with my oldest son, Dylan, like I didn't, yeah, I had him play sports, but mainly because it was like I just wanted him to experience sport, like experience, being with other, kids and, working with them and learning some of the values that sports has to
Yeah.
teach. Whether or not he became the next sports star, I really didn't care. Do I want to see him put some effort into things and commit? Sure. Um, you know, again, I wasn't perfect. If you ever felt like I was being too um pushy with certain things, you know, I try to express that that's not the approach that I was taking. But you learn, you make mistakes as a parent.
Yeah.
Again, and certainly for my younger
Awareness.
ones, yeah, yeah, certainly for my younger ones now, I'm constantly evaluating that. I don't want to push them in a direction that they don't really want to be in. I want them to explore what they love and what they like, and yeah, I could already tell. I don't know if Maeve, my daughter, has the sport gene in her, and that's okay. I'm not gonna pretend and like force her into, sports. I am gonna put her in gymnastics just because I think it's a nice little foundation just for anybody, to have. And again, if she doesn't really like it, yeah, okay, we don't have to continue to do it.
Right.
It's like
Right.
fine. Let's try the piano. I don't know. Let's do this. People harp on that too much, man, and especially when it comes to careers, right? Like, certain backgrounds is so heavy, and oh, well, you need to become a doctor, you need to be this, a lawyer, and all that. Why? I get it, the whole financial aspect of things, but let me tell you, man, a lot of those professions, You don't go into it for money. And if you do, you're going to be downright miserable. I know. I've seen a
Yes.
lot of them. Nursing. I hear it all the time. There's kids at my job now going into nursing. Oh, yeah, good money. Okay, good luck with that.
I I
You
think the
know,
focus is wrong. Yeah, it's
yeah.
the focus is wrong. It's more about money, but and it's funny that you say that because my middle son, also named Dylan, funny,
Mm.
right?
How do you
He's gonna
spell it? By the way,
not like Dylon.
D
It's
Y
not even
L O N. It's not A. You went with the O.
no, not my call. Let's just leave it at that, okay?
Nobody spells it like that. It's either D
He lo-
Y L A N or Dillon. That's
hey,
it.
my mine does, okay? And he thinks it's the coolest.
All right. Well, it is unique. So there you go.
Anyway, he's gonna be 17 in August, and he's trying to go in. We're trying to put him into trade school, and he's trying to figure out
Mm.
which trade he wants to do, and he's got it narrowed down to like two or three that he's interested in, and he'll get one, and then he'll be like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do, and then like a week or so later he'll be like, how do I know what I'm choosing is the right thing? Or
Mm.
in years, am I going to want to do something else? And I'm like, Dylan, I'm sorry. Like, I really don't have the answers for this one. I
Right.
really
Right. Right.
don't.
Yeah, I remember my aunt going through that with her daughter. And she's still kind of like in limbo a little bit. She's in college and not really sure. And I went through a little bit of myself. I kind of reluctantly went to college for journalism. I knew kind of what I want to do, baseline, and it made sense. But my passion at the time, I just don't think was there for that. I'm probably more passionate now about like sports journalism, like we were talking prior to the show
Yeah.
today. Like now, I truly, have the mindset for it. Back then, I didn't really care, or it was like I was just unsure. I didn't know. I mean, how do you know? You're a young 20-year-old. You're going through it. Mentally, you're just figuring yourself out. You're a baby, mentally. You know.
Yeah, I think we have to explore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think it's hard to go from school and be like, yes, this is what I want to do. And then that's it for the rest of your life.
Right.
Because we learn from experiences, ultimately. So how do we know unless we actually do it and try it? And I try to tell him like humans are multifaceted. Like maybe we are great at one thing now and then later on it grows into something else, and or we come upon a hobby and it's like, wow, that's something I've never experienced before. Now I want to make this my my job or my career or whatever it is.
Absolutely. I mean, even just me doing this, you tell me 20, like 14 years ago, would I be doing this? I'd laughed. I like, there's no way. Like, what do you mean? And I know 10 years from now, it could be completely different. I could be working a different job, a new career path. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna sit here and dwell on it, like most. For some people, they get that calling. They just know. Oh, I'm gonna be a doctor. I'm gonna do this, and they do it, and they're spectacular in what they do, and they find their niche, and that's a beautiful thing. But the reality is, it's not as realistic for the average person, right? We just not everybody knows, and that's okay too. The
Yeah, I
pressure
think it's
of
important to say that it is
yeah,
okay.
absolutely, man. And I think even now, especially because of the financial aspect of going to college, it's just super expensive. In a lot of cases, depending on your situation, it's not even affordable. It's not even a realistic route. But I think it's important in those early 20 years that you really just kind of explore, man.
Yeah.
Try a couple of things. You don't need even maybe take a year off. Don't go to college right away. Work an odd job, see what you like. Something might come to you. Something might draw. Join a club. Do this. Especially if you have the privilege of living under your parents' roof, you take advantage of that shit. I was,
Yeah.
again, and I'll always die on this hill. I was what 19, 20, having a kid. Not ideal. It never was. It never was ideal. It never was a good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, yeah, that was an excellent decision.
Yes.
You know, like, no.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I tell my son all the time, like, I just don't want you to do the same thing that I did.
Yeah.
I mean, can you call it a mistake? I'm grateful to have my children, but it's really, I would have been better off if I was more stable, financially and just all around before I went and had kids.
And that's important too. And not only would you have been better off, hate to say it, and again, I'll
Yes.
say it in my situation, but so would they.
Yes.
So would they. And that was always a difficult conversation to have with my oldest. And I know, me and him are not on best terms right now, and that's okay. I understand. Um, but it's the reality. I'm a better father now than I was then. And because I was just a kid still. I was still learning. I was still learning myself. I was in
Yeah.
no position financially, mentally to be raising a child. And that's the reality. It's not to say that I regret my son. No, absolutely not. Not in the slightest. I'm very happy that I had him, love him to death, and I'll never stop loving him. But the reality is, yeah, if I had waited, you know, yeah, things could have been, better, or I could provided more. I could have done more. Or been, mentally more present. There's so many different aspects to it. And again, even now, and that's why I mentioned off the top of the show, D, is that, I felt the need coming out of my run today, felt the need to do more because I know I can. I know I have it in me. I'm tired. I'm tired. Sometimes I don't want to do more. Sometimes I just want to relax. I want to take that nap like he was saying before the
Yeah.
show. And sometimes it's warranted, but I'm 34, going 35. I have a lot of vision. I have a lot that I want to do in this life, and I want to set a good example for my kids and show them, that you're more than capable of what you may believe you are. So it's one of those things. It's important to have this self reflection, and it's important to say, hey, I fucked up a little bit. I think people have the idea of having kids at a young age and they glorify that shit. And like, I'm like, good for you if you get through it and all that. It's a beautiful thing, But let's be honest. It's not. It's less than ideal. It's not.
Yes.
It's not something you would like to do. And for anybody raising kids out there, yeah. I mean, are you really gonna sit up on that hill and say, oh, I would love for my 18-year-old to have a kid right now, huh? Like that's not even like a young 20-year-old. Like, no, wait a minute. I get it. Some people they fall in love, whatever, it works out. Everybody's life is different. Everybody's journey is different. I'm not gonna, sit here and critique, but you know, there's definitely a time and a place for things, and it's good, like you referencing your son, to really take this time and just learn who you are as a person, explore other options, and if you have the financial means to just help support them through that, and and they can just find their way. It's a beautiful thing. It's a very important. And then I know, there's people out there, alone at this age, and forced to go into the workforce, forced to do this, do that, don't even have the opportunity to go to college, and
Yeah.
that's tough too. But
Or even to figure out what they want to do, and they just have to work to get money. It's
right.
you rather do something that you're going to enjoy than, you know.
Most definitely, and I don't, for me, it's never been about the money. Money can always be made. Um, I'd rather much live a simple lifestyle. You know, cut down the expenses if it meant, you know, I'd be more happy. Money doesn't necessarily guarantee happiness. We know that. It's a thing. If you truly still believe in that, I have a good friend of mine. and it's going through some things, no doubt. But it's always the money. It always comes back to the money. It's all I ever hear about. I just wait till I get some money. Wait till I get some money, and I laugh because I'm like, oh, I know in my head, for his sake, I hope that would change his scenario. But a part of me just doesn't believe it, because I know, because it's not, like if you're just waiting, if you're doing it for the money, don't do it at all. Truthfully, like it's not worth it. Somewhere along the way, here's the best example about that, because I feel like I'm going on a rant with it. Here's the best example. I'll put it out here. You gotta stop me sometime, D. All right, you gotta stop me. Um,
All right, all right.
if if you have all the money in the world, you could be a millionaire. You have everything you want, all the cars, the mansion, the whole nine. The second you are now unhealthy and incapable, the second you fall ill, cancer or what have you, all that shit just goes right out the window. All that money that you worked so hard your whole life to get, now that you have it, you have the opportunity. I hear it all the time with people that retire. That's always a big topic of discussion with people who retire. They're finally retired. They worked their whole lives
Yeah.
and now they're unhealthy and they're not healthy enough to enjoy the rest of their life. The moment they've been waiting for their whole life, working 40 plus years, 45, some people longer. Some people still working because they just truly can't even afford retirement. Now unhealthy. And for what? Was it all worth it? It's sad. It's sad to see. Again,
It
everybody's
is.
everybody's situation is different, and we don't always have that luxury, but it really makes you question about it because you can have all the money in the world, but the second you fall ill, it don't mean shit. So
Right. And
yeah,
besides that, when you're working towards that money like that, you kind of leave other things that are important out, like,
right.
certain people and time and presence that could have been spent doing things that matter. So,
Hmm. Yeah, missing
yeah.
those experiences. I certainly felt like that. In my early stages in the workforce when I was an EMT, I'd be working, sometimes 16-hour days, and it was just like that. Where's the quality of life? I still know people that are doing, back to back, working two, three jobs, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I get it. They be just financially speaking, they might not have any choice. But I know there's some people out there that definitely they could dial it back a little bit. You don't have to work as much. Maybe all right, instead of picking up that extra shift, spend time with your friend, or spend time with the kids. It's important. Yeah, all right.
Yes.
The extra little money might help out. But all right, the bills will be there. It's not like it's gonna change much. You know what I'm saying? Like, try to find that a little extra time. Or I'm always all about it. Listen, when it comes to sick days, PTO days, use them, baby. I know people that got
Yes.
PTO days for they haven't. Oh, I haven't taken a day off of work in years. As,
No.
as if that's like a good thing. It's like, no, like what is wrong with you? Take a vacation.
Yep.
Use that shit. If you
Yep.
die
No,
tomorrow, they replace you in a week. What are you
right. You're
doing?
just a body anyway. So that exactly 100%. I can totally relate
Yeah.
to all of that. When the boys were young and I had just come back from Florida, I was working two jobs. I was in college and I missed out on a lot. The boys were with my mom a lot of the
Mm,
time. And I still think about that. Like, man, I was that the right thing to do? But I was
mm,
trying to, set myself up again from being back from Florida. But there are plenty of times where I regret like missing out on certain things, especially at that young age. But I worked in the school system for 8.5 years,
mm.
and it was so hard to get time off if I needed it, even if it was like for a kid's function or their health, anything. And
Right.
now that I work where I'm working now, the lead secretary, she's always telling me, D, take those hours, take those hours. Your
You
kids are
have to.
only young. And she's an older woman and she's been there. And I'm just like, she's right.
Yeah.
She's totally right. That's what matters.
Especially with kids, man. Like
Yeah.
I heard you about to say like they're only young ones. This is it. Like you really you are going to
Yeah.
miss out on moments. You are gonna miss out on it's just the reality of being a parent in 2026. There's gonna be moments that you miss.
Yeah.
So it's do your best to at least optimize that. And that's what I meant by doing more for me. Like get it was very important for me to get up early today, even though I did not want to. I went to bed probably too late and I lack of sleep and I'm like, "Oh my god, I got to do this 14 run tomorrow." But I knew like like the logistics of that is okay, 14 hours for me, 14 hours, Jesus. If I'm running for 14 hours, I'm in trouble. Um
Don't.
that's an ultra marathon. Um, but 14 miles for me means I already know that's basically I'm done. I'm checked out for 3 hours essentially. Like the run's gonna take over 2 hours. By the time I get home, shower, relax, wind down from the run, because that's a process in itself.
Hmm.
Do a little editing because of course gotta be on my content creator influencer shit. I gotta, you know, do that. you know, put that out there for the 5 likes from people. Appreciate all 5 likes of you, by the way. Um, but I knew like it's important for me, like, and especially going forward during this marathon training block for me, it's like, no, listen, get up early. Everybody was sleeping and I was already out the door running. And that meant that's important for me because it was like, okay, I'm doing what I need to do. I'm holding myself accountable, showing up, but I'm also being mindful of everything else and the kids and the family and just hey, later on right after the show we're going to a Met game, with my daughter, and then when we come home we're gonna have a nice evening and relax and do our thing, and then I
Yeah.
I, I don't have to go for my run because otherwise it's like, oh well, no, maybe I go for the run after the show and now I'm gone midday and for 2 hours. And although I've done that
Right.
at times, it's just I think I got to do better and optimize my time better. If that means I got to go to sleep earlier, I got to go to sleep early. I got to suck it up. It
Yeah.
is what it is. Because oftentimes at night that the little that 10, usually for me it's like that 9:30 to 12 p.m. window. That's like our time. That's like that little bit of adult time that we have for ourselves, which just either ends up endlessly scrolling on the phone, watching TV, or falling asleep on the couch. If we're not doing, and even that time gotta optimize better. I gotta,
Yes.
we find a way
I
to
feel
just,
like you're giving me reminders, Matt. Like,
listen. This is just what it is. It is. I
no,
wanna,
you're 100% right.
you
You're
know,
right.
I've been saying it to my wife for the longest time, and she said it too. We gotta have one night a week where we shut the TV off. Let's play a game together. We used to play like Mario Party together, like once a week. We haven't done that in a while. Should do that again.
Yeah.
Let's pick up a board game. I don't know, do a puzzle with each other. I get it,
Yeah.
late at night, exhausted. It's not always in the cards, like that too. We're just freaking drained from the day, right? Or the week. And it's like, that's it, time to veg out on the couch. And that's okay too, cuddle up, whatever, but it's important optimizing this time, especially when you're an active parent, trying to be a present parent while also trying to prioritize yourself and do other things.
Yeah.
I'll never not say it. It's so much to do in so little time, Willy Wonka right there. Shout out.
It's
You
the
know,
truth.
it really is. But you know, we say that, and at the same time, I think you can optimize your time a little bit better, and it's that's also something that I've had to learn over the years quite a bit. I used to think I had no time, then I started to realize, ooh, I got time for that. You
Yeah.
know, I got time for this, and then as I've just gotten older, I'm starting to, it's just I'm finding the time. I'm finding the
Yeah.
time. Um, don't get me
I
wrong,
think
it leads to exhaustion, but yeah, take it away.
I I think one good, like, I mean, there's many good things that, like, we were just talking about not having kids so early, but I mean, there are a couple things that I do find that were nice about having kids kind of early. Like, as I've grown, my kids have grown and they've seen my growth, you know what I mean? And I feel like they're kind of learning from that. We have a lot of conversations about, like, just both of us being proud of each other about doing certain things that maybe they saw that I couldn't do before. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
so the learning my learning experience is kind of like a learning experience for them. So I think that's positive also. And the fact that I have kids is really motivating to optimize my time and
Hmm.
not waste it. You know what I mean? Sometimes people need that, and it's to be motivated to optimize their time correctly. And my kids are definitely that for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's an interesting thought because if I think about it, if I didn't have kids, would I be as productive, or would I be
Right.
more productive? Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I would. I'd find that time to be a little lazy, being less productive. I don't know, or would I be as motivated?
I think
Hard to
personally for
say.
me, no. I
Yeah,
don't think I would. I don't think I
I would
would. I
have
think,
to agree. Yeah.
yeah, they really get me up, and they give me more purpose, and just, and not just to do things for them, but also because they make me want to be a better me for me too.
Right.
Like, yeah,
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
just seeing, all the sides to it.
for me, certainly at the time, when I was in college and I had, we, found out that we were pregnant the whole nine, and I decided drop out of college, come back home, and just enter the workforce. That was my now I, that was my grand thing. I thought that was what I needed to do. Fuck school. Even though everybody was like telling me stay in school, I'm like, how can I stay in school? I have a child on the way. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like I gotta make money. I don't know. That was just I'm making money. I can't be 2 hours away in school fucking around. Like this just
Yeah.
it didn't it didn't compute in my mind. But certainly for me, I was kind of in a dark place at that time. Not kind of, I was in a very dark place. I was doing a lot of drugs. I was partying a lot. And I don't know if my son's mother does not get pregnant at that time, do I continue down that path? I always kind of said, along with Kid Cudi saving my life, it was having that boy. I know I may not be his favorite person right now, but he'll never know it. But that boy saved my life because I was not on a good path. I really wasn't.
I
And
got chills.
and
I
if
got chills.
if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I'm sitting here talking to you right now. I don't know. I can't guarantee that. I would like to think I somewhere I would have came out of the darkness, but I it's a hypothetical. We'll never know because I here I am. I took that path, and there was a lot of dark years that followed for sure. Like we mentioned before, it was not perfect. I needed to grow. I needed to learn. I needed to become a
Hmm.
better person, let alone a better father and better friend, whatever, better, the whole nine. But
Yeah.
without that moment, I mean, it was life changing. So there's two sides to that, right? Because we mentioned earlier, like, listen, it's not necessarily an ideal thing having kids at a young age, but you know, maybe for people like me and you, it was almost that necessary evil. Like it was something that we needed to spark within ourselves, that extra motivating factor. Because, like you said, the kids, they're watching, they're here,
Yeah.
and they're learning from our movement. And if we, you know, we give them a bad example, they might follow in our steps. So that's very important, and we
Yeah.
can't overlook that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
I want to say that's probably the biggest, like, focus for what I do with, like, Reiki, and even with
Mm,
WIC, like when I talk to moms and support
mm,
them and stuff. Like, I see what a change it's done for my family unit and my atmosphere, working on my mental health and trying to be there for myself and being an example for my children, and I really feel that that's how we really change what's going on in the world. I mean, everybody talks about politics and, the government, and my whole thing is like what we do every day in the comfort of our own homes is really what's going to change, the trajectory of the way the world is going right now. So,
And it certainly starts in the home, right? That is the
yeah,
foundation of it, no doubt about it. You know, it's especially when you got people saying "fucking faggot" to you. Yeah, I wonder what her home life was.
exactly. Exactly. It makes you really think. Like, I know there's that initial upset, reaction to that, but every time, like lately when things happen with that for me, like if somebody says something, I always try to be like, I just don't get what they're going through. I have no idea. And it does help me feel a little bit better, and not take it so personal.
Yeah, yeah, that was very important. I had a lot of people, I talked to about that. They're like, "Oh, Matt, just don't take it personal." I know, and I wasn't really. I think there was a bit of a moment there. It was like, okay, there's always
Of
some moment for
course.
me where it's like, all right, I need to self reflect. Am I the asshole? What did I do?
Yeah.
you know, but it's not a reflection of who I am. If anything, it's a reflection of what she's going through and her situation, the
Yeah.
whole nine. And you have to remember that. And listen, it's just another reminder to be kind. And not to take things personally. People are going through things, and when I don't hear from friends for such a long time, I wonder, like, I start to tell those stories in my head. It's like, oh, well, what's going on? Does he not like me anymore? Or we don't get along? Like, why I
Yeah.
haven't heard from this person? What's going on? And then I come to find out, just, hey, man, like, going through a lot of shit, whatever the story is. And it's just like, when we do finally talk, it's like, nothing ever changed. So,
Yeah.
you know, oftentimes it's all in our head. It's all the bullshit. It's all the stories. A lot of what we put in our head is not true, and we just gotta really. It's a reminder: live in the moment, embrace it, and understand that everybody's going through something. This is life. This is what it's about. Um,
Yeah.
we are going to be getting out of here shortly. We do have just a couple of minutes left to go. We only have an hour on the docket today because, like we mentioned earlier in the show, I got things to do. Going to the ball game, spending some time with the family. So I'm sure. What do you got on the docket for you for the rest of the afternoon, Dave?
I gotta go grocery shopping, but then I'm hoping the rain stays away so I can take my daughter to the park for a little bit, spend times with the kids too before work starts tomorrow.
I don't think it's gonna be too bad. If anything, a spot shower, but I do see those clouds up there, though. You're right. So hopefully that
We'll
doesn't
see how
affect
it
our
goes.
situation.
But
Either
maybe
way,
we'll get in a board game.
let her
Now I'm
go.
thinking board games.
Either way, embrace it. Let her go splash in the puddles. Have a good time. That too. I used to love
Yeah.
that. That was one of my favorite things, like a summer thunderstorm or anything like that, or a shower as a kid. Oh, I
Yes.
was the first one outside.
It's
Running
funny you
around.
say that. I was outside with my oldest yesterday and it was just like a nice drizzle
Mm.
and it wasn't hot or humid. It was just perfect. And I was like, this is that nice rain. And he looked at me and he was like, yeah, it is. Like we both understood that that was it.
I love that. That's good. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Embrace it. Embrace it
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
You
Um,
did something recently about just jumping in the puddles,
I
right?
did. I did.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was like, maybe that's a good transition to end the show. But
I
yes,
like that.
yes, my our old co-host on the Epis Sports podcast, Mr. W. Dubois, who we haven't been communicating as much these days. Shout out to Dub though. Hope he's doing well. Hope everything is good. He, when I first started my running journey, and I was a bit hesitant to get outside during these rainy days, and although I knew it was a necessary evil to you know make me become a better runner, make me more mentally tough because you know come race day you just never know, it might be raining. It's happened to me on several
Hmm.
occasions, and you have no choice. You have to get out there, you have to do it. I mean, you have a choice, you could back out and quit, but yeah, in my mind it's not a choice, you know. So a way to change that mindset, I'll never forget it, he told me, and I used it as a metaphor for everyday life, was he told me, Maddie, go out there and splash in those puddles. And it's exactly what I did. And I was just, let me tell you, that day that I went out there and it was raining, and I felt like such a fucking kid again. And I take that every day I'm out there, every day I'm doing things, you know, if I needed a reminder, if I need just to get present, you know, with my kids, I hear him say that. Keep splashing in those puddles. Be a kid again. And that's really what that means. Just so what? You're wet. It doesn't matter. Like, just have fun. Embrace it. You know, it's never gonna be ideal. Life is not ideal. You know,
Yes.
we deal with adversity all the time. You
It's
know,
a mindset shift right there.
it
Splash
is.
in the puddles. It's like forget about how it's bad that there's puddles out. Just have fun. And
Yeah,
it's true. You can always redirect like in a more positive way.
yeah. I mean, I was funny. My mother, I love her to death, but as my mother's gotten older, she got a bit soft. I'm not gonna lie. All right, this woman used to be out and about all the time, and now it's like if it's not between 85 and 90 degrees with three clouds in the sky, she's not going outside. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, if it's like 65 and rainy, a little drizzle, who the hell cares? You know, like I'm out there. Like, if it's gray outside, we're out there. We're doing it. We're going. We're living. I just embrace it. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like, if it's cold, put on some clothes. I don't know what to tell you. Life doesn't stop. We keep on moving, embrace it.
Right.
As a kid, you have that. You didn't care if it's raining, if it's cold, if it's hot, if it's this, it's that. I mean, obviously, certain circumstances, but for the most part, you're out there. You're rubbing in dirt.
Yeah.
You're dirty. That was our childhood. All kids are like that. They ultimately they're willing to adore so much because why? They're just constantly living in the moment. It's living in the moment, living in the moment, just
Yeah.
embracing it. They don't got all these external factors. That's the reason why we hold ourselves back. Because I'll wait for tomorrow because you have that mindset. For a kid, tomorrow's not even guaranteed. They don't tomorrow.
They're
Like, what do
not
you
even
mean?
thinking about tomorrow.
What do
No.
you mean? Like, this today is last in eternity. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you really gotta, take that approach. Go out there, splash in those damn puddles. If there's anybody that knows, it's us. It's us as adults that tomorrow is truly not guaranteed. So why are we constantly constricting ourselves from living? Even when we know that you could go outside right now and get into a car accident, whatever,
Yeah.
and it's over. It ends our lives too short. Shout out to Oliver Tree, by the way, musician that passed away in a tragic helicopter accident. I used his music for my video today, and I'm thinking about it because I always find my way back to music. Guy was younger than me, 33 years old. Um, did you think he knew that he was going to pass away? You know what I'm saying? That if there's anybody that's living a life to the fullest and just constantly doing it and just, creating and living in that moment, it was probably him. And then look, all said and done, gone. So if there's anything that you get out of today's episodes, it is use that as a metaphor to go splash in those damn puddles because life is too short. And
Oh,
there's
definitely.
no sense in complaining all the time or just waiting for the right moment. If you're waiting for the right moment, guarantee you will bypass that moment. So
You make the right moment.
right.
You make the right moment. And that's been something that my parents have been talking about lately. Like my dad is in his 70s and they're regretting. They're regretting that they
Mm,
didn't take those moments. So
right.
I'm with that.
Take those vacation days. Take those days. You got it. You got it. We take it. Who cares? Call out. Listen,
Do
sorry,
it. Do
sorry,
it.
so, sorry, Northwell. Okay. All right, everybody. That's all we got for you today. I wish we could go longer, but again, life calls, and those
Yes.
kids are
Enjoy
waiting
it.
for me. D, I appreciate you as always. Another great show. We'll be back soon, and we got a lot going on. We got a lot to talk about for the show. We're actually trying to build community and get something tangible, something you can really feel and experience outside of the podcast. For one, we're trying to bring Epis to you, and that
Yes.
is in the works. So we didn't get quite enough time to discuss it today. So maybe we'll discuss that on a future episode. I'm sure we will, but please, we're trying to bring community to you and get outside and have that and really just bring people together. That's what it's all about. Task from Twitch. Love you, man. Hope you have a beautiful day. Jumping into the puddles is amazing. You do it. Let's go. We should all jump into a good day. I was getting wet out there today. I took during my run. I stripped everything, got into the sprinklers, felt like a kid again. It's a beautiful thing. All right. That's it, everybody, for today's show. This is the live recording of episode 34 of the Mental Health Podcast with your hosts, Maddie B and Deanna Stoll. D, any closing comments for the people?
Not really. I think we covered. I think this. I think this was so good. I'm really gonna go enjoy the rest of my day, and I hope everybody else does too. So.
That's it. You heard it. All right, everybody, keep showing up. As always, it's your boy, Maddie B, Eps Radio Entertainment. Thank you for joining. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we will talk to you soon.
Wake up! You can't remember where it was! Has this dream stopped?
Hope you find some kind of peace of mind. And hope you find some kind of peace of mind.
Was true. Love is my love, is my love.